3. That was some magnificent fighting. Ainz praised Cocytus, who was bowed before him on one knee.
Thank you.
That said, I think you know already, but this time you gave them the stick. From now on, you need to give them carrots. We mustn't rule through fear.
Understood.
Ainz nodded and turned to the other guardians in the room. Good. Listen to me, guardians. As I said in the throne room, I'm leaving the governing of the lizardmen completely up to Cocytus. If he requests support from you, give him whatever he requires. Cocytus, I'd like for you to instill in the lizardmen a loyalty to Nazarick, to give them a special education. But I'll leave the details up to you. Let me know if you need wings of ascension or any other specific item. I could lend you a power suit or something for a time as well. In Yggdrasil, it was possible for players to change their race mid-game, but not whenever they wanted. There were various requirements that had to be met first, and it was impossible to change back afterward. One of the requirements was an item. For example, to change into an Elder Lich, one needed a Book of the Dead. To change into an Imp, one needed a Seed of Corruption. The Wings of Ascension Ainz mentioned were for becoming an angel. Ainz thought that perhaps it was possible to be reborn as a grotesque in this world as well, and couldn't help voicing that unintentionally.
Thank you. I will let you know. Also, Lord Ainz, how will those lizardmen be disposed of?
Which?
Oh, the ones called Zaryusu and Shishiryu.
The ones who lasted till the end, huh? Their corpses should still be in the marsh, but what about it? Oh, should we recover the bodies and try using them as fodder for undead creation that doesn't use my skills?
I feel that would be regrettable.
What do you mean? Are they that valuable? From what Ainz was able to tell, watching on the mirror of remote viewing, there hadn't been anything noteworthy about them. Cocytus had won a crushing victory.
It's true they were weak, but I saw the spark of a warrior in them, in how they didn't fear my power. I think it would be a waste to use them as fodder. It is possible that they might become stronger than we could imagine, and I don't think you've performed resurrection experiments yet. How about using them for that?
Could it be that he's taken a liking to those reptiles? Honestly, Ainz didn't get what spark of a warrior meant. There was that word bloodlust that came up a lot in manga and books, but like when he warned Narbrul, he didn't really understand. In the same way, empathy between warriors made no sense to him. That was because, although his current self was quite different, he was originally just a normal member of society. It was probably dangerous for the average citizen of Japan to feel an affinity for concepts like a thirst for battle and the spark of a warrior. He would have understood the spark of a brilliant salesman better, albeit still vaguely. I see. A waste, huh? Cocytus answered in the affirmative, but Ainz still wondered. Even if it's a waste, who cares? But if he really thought about it, Cocytus sounded absolutely right. He did want to do resurrection experiments at some point. There was plenty for Nazarick to gain from it, from Ainz's point of view. And, unlike the incoherent Cocytus in the throne room, now he was making a proposal, with the pros accurately presented. If this was proof of progress, he'd passed this exercise with flying colors. Ainz thought for a moment, and remembered that he had excellent subordinates. There they were, lined up in postures befitting their status, silent, straight, and stock still. Albedo, let's hear your opinion.
Things should be as you wish, Lord Ainz.
Demiurge, what do you think?
I believe what you say is most correct, Lord Ainz.
Shaltir, how about you?
The same as Demiurge. I defer to your judgment. Aura?
My lord, I agree with everyone else.
Mare?
Yes, sir. Me too.
These aren't answers. Ainz racked his brain. After thinking over various things, he arrived at the conclusion that this matter might just not be a very big issue for the Guardians. In other words, they might have decided that there weren't any huge pros or cons either way. Of course, that opinion could be a problem, depending on where they were coming from. It was the issue of how far you could trust someone saying, "It's not a lot of money," if they thought of 100 million yen as peanuts. Basically, a gap in values.
There was no point in asking. So does that mean it's fine if I resurrect them? I keep thinking I've thought things through before acting, but I've been making a lot of mistakes lately.
Since he had no choice, he considered the pros and cons himself.
So, we've conquered the Lizardman village. Is there someone representing them? Any way of organizing themselves?
Yes, there is a representative.
Oh? What's he like?
A white lizardman who didn't participate in the battle. It seems she has druid powers.
Oh, that one. I see.
So we can use her, thought Ainz. She'll make a good spy. But if they implemented the idea in his mind right now, it might cause trouble for Cocytus when he had to govern them. So what should we do? Then he realized something with a start. It'd be faster just to ask, even though asking before was pointless. Ainz explained his plan to Cocytus. Cocytus' response was affirmative. Ainz couldn't be completely sure Cocytus wasn't holding back out of respect, but when he glanced at Albedo and Demiurge and saw no change in their expressions, he figured there was probably nothing wrong with his idea.
Okay. How long will it take you to bring her here?
Please forgive me, but I thought you might ask, so I already have her in a nearby room.
Ainz instinctively looked at Demiurge and saw him shaking his head slightly.
Crazy! He did something without being asked. It doesn't seem like anyone gave him the idea either. This must be how a boss feels seeing one of their subordinates grow, he thought, and his face warped in satisfaction, not that the bony exterior moved at all.
No, that's good, Cocytus. It's foolish to waste time. Your judgment was correct. Okay, bring her here.
Please wait a minute.
What is it, Aura?
I don't think this distasteful place is suitable for you to meet someone, Lord Ainz, even a subordinate. It would be better to meet her in the throne room at Nazarick.
All the other guardians besides Mare made slight nods of agreement.
My humble apologies. I didn't consider that. Do forgive me.
I wasn't even thinking about that. Ainz wondered what to do next. Then he remembered what he'd said earlier. In that case...
Aura.
My lord.
This place you made, into which you put so much thought. I told you I think it's equal to Nazarick, right? I wasn't lying. Cocytus, bring her in. We'll meet her here.
Lord Ainz!
Aura, step down!
Albedo!
Aura responded fiercely, blushing.
Why are you stopping me?
Albedo just shot one glance at her and then fixed her attention on the door. The one who answered angry Aura was Demiurge.
Lord Ainz's words are correct in every instance. Thus, if he says he considers this place equal to Nazarick, then...
That is correct.
Shaltir finished his sentence. I don't think my words are always correct, nor do I really want them thinking so. But in this case, I guess it's convenient if they do.
Aura, I'll tell you one more time. I think this place that you, one of my most trusted servants, a guardian, are working hard to build is equivalent to Nazarick, even if it's still under construction.
Do you understand?
Lord Hines, thank you.
Aura bowed deeply. The other guardians followed suit.
You don't have to be so emotional. You're just gonna make me blush.
Then, Cocytus, bring her here.
Yes, sir.
Cocytus immediately brought the snow-white lizardman into the room. She kneeled and bowed her head before Ainz. Let's hear your name.
Most supreme of the great, King of Death, Lord Ainz. I am the representative of the lizardmen, Crusch.
What an exaggerated title.
Who came up with that?
Ainz wondered, acting the composed king. Good of you to come.
My lord, please accept the lizardmen's absolute loyalty.
Ainz took a good look at Crusch. Her scales were extremely beautiful. They sparkled stunningly in the magic light. Ainz was seized by a bit of intellectual curiosity regarding how they would feel if he touched them. As he gazed at her, he noticed her shoulders were trembling slightly. He didn't think Cocytus's chill skill was activated, so there had to be some other reason. After mulling it over, he arrived at the obvious answer. If Ainz said he didn't care for them, all the lizardmen would be killed, so she had to pay careful attention to her each and every word. Under that mental stress, his silence must have been terrifying for her. Ainz wasn't the sort to derive pleasure from tormenting the weak. He could be incredibly brutal if it profited Nazarick, but his mind wasn't so twisted that he would act that way all the time. From now on, you lizardmen will be under my rule. That said, Cocytus will govern you as my proxy. Any objections?
No.
Very well, then. That will be all. You may go home.
What? Are you sure?
Crusch exclaimed, with her head still bowed. It was an appropriately stunned response, considering what unreasonable, impossible demands she had expected him to make. For now, Crusch, you lizardmen are heading into a period of prosperity. Future lizardmen will surely be grateful to be under my rule.
No, you've shown us such mercy, despite our hostility toward your greatness, Lord Gaun. We are already grateful.
Ainz slowly stood up from his throne. Then he went next to Crusch, bent down, and put an arm around her shoulder. Crusch flinched, and her trembling passed into Ainz's arm. There's also something I want to ask, especially of you.
What might that be? I, your devoted servant, will do anything in my power for you, Lord Gaun.
I want to ask you a personal favor. In exchange, I'll resurrect Zaryusu. At the mention of the name he'd heard from Cocytus, her head shot up. Her expression was twisted in shock. Feeling triumphant, Ainz continued to observe her. She was probably trying to hide the flurry of changes whirling through her expression. He couldn't tell exactly what emotions they were, since the movements were so different from humans, but they probably ran the gamut.
You can do that?
Yes, I can manipulate even life and death. Death is just another status for me. He responded to her faint query, like poison or sickness. Of course, I can't do anything about lifespan, but... He had a feeling if he used Wish Upon a Star it would work, but he didn't go so far as to say so.
Then, what do you wish of me, as your faithful slave? Perhaps my body?
Ainz was speechless. No, I don't think that's... He nearly broke character and blurted,
I mean, come on, a lizard?
but he desperately clung to his persona. He decided to overlook the noise of grinding teeth coming from somewhere nearby.
No, that's not it. It's simple. I want you to keep an eye out for any lizardmen who might betray me.
No lizardman would do such a thing,
she declared, but Ein sneered at her.
I'm not foolish enough to actually believe that. I'm no expert in lizardman thought, but for example, in the race of humans, betrayal wouldn't be a rare occurrence. That's why I want someone secretly watching from the inside.
From her now blank expression, Ainz fretted internally that he'd gone about proposing it in the wrong way. He was already planning on bringing Zardiusu back to life, but his plot was to create a debt of gratitude on her side by manipulating her into asking him for it. What will I do if she refuses here? Maybe I shouldn't have been so greedy. Well, no use crying over spilled milk.
Right now, there is a miracle right in front of you, but it won't be there forever. If you don't seize this moment, it'll all be over.
Crusch's face twitched.
We're not going to do some creepy ritual. You probably have it in this world too, right? Resurrection magic. That's what I'll be using.
Isn't that a legend?
She swallowed her words, and Ainz spoke gently to her, acting his arrogant part.
Crusch, what is most important to you? I want you to think about that.
Her gaze started to waver, and he flashed back to his days as a salesman, envisioning a client who was about to bite. Next, he had to get her to understand that this miracle wasn't free. People were wary of free things, but they would often consent if a reasonable price was charged.
You're going to secretly observe your lizardmen friends from the inside. You may have to make some difficult choices at times. And I'm going to cast a spell on Zardiusu when I resurrect him, so you don't betray me. If I ever suspect that you have, he'll drop dead instantly. I'm sure this will all be agonizing for you, but won't having Zardiusu back be worth that?
No spell like that exists, but she doesn't need to know that. He stood up slowly, with the attitude that he'd said everything he had to say. Then he spread his arms. Crusch watched him with eyes full of anguish.
Oh, yes. And after I revive Zardiusu, I'll tell him that I brought him back to life because I had a use for him. I promise not to bring your name into it. Okay, Crusch Lulu, make your choice now. This is your last chance to bring back your beloved Zardiusu. What will you do? Will you shake my hand? Or not? Choose.
He slowly extended his hand to her. At the same time, he gave a strong warning to the Guardians.
Don't do anything, even if she refuses. So, what'll it be, Crusch Lulu?